Hello, it's Melissa Joy here, and I'm so pleased to be joined by Melissa Fradenburg. We are both financial advisors at Pearl Planning, and today we're going to talk about what happens when you inherit money. We're calling this webinar, You've Inherited, Now What? Let me just share my screen. So we always want to make sure that we're able to inform clients and our communities about information on personal finance, and a emotional and very meaningful part of life can be receiving assets from a loved one or a friend, and in the form of an inheritance. And this is not something that you can time. It's often difficult to prepare for. And so today we want to talk about some of the both emotional components as well as the financial decision components of an inheritance. And in order to get started, let me just mention our agenda. So we will be discussing what is an inheritance, then the action steps that you can take. And fortunately, we also have some resources that may be able to help you if you find yourself in the situation that you have inherited either a financial account, money, there's a generation that kind of creates wealth, and then there can be a generation that lives off of that wealth, and then it's difficult to sustain that for a variety of reasons. And so we don't always find that, but across different geographies, there are similar phrases and stories. And so part of our conversation is to help you as you plan either to bequeath funds to family members, or also as you receive funds, to handle things responsibly, to be prepared, and to think through a way to make that wealth sustainable so that it will last longer than just kind of disappearing over time. So what are some strategies that can help if you've inherited assets? Sometimes things need to be divided up first, and a lot of times your family is involved, and maybe your trusted friends as well. So when you have a loss in the family, people rally around you. A lot of people have ideas of what should happen. And hopefully you're also working with professionals, including perhaps an attorney or estate planning attorney, preferably a CPA who can provide professional tax advice. We are, of course, financial planners, and a financial planner's role can be to help you navigate through both the tax and the game plan beyond receiving assets. And then there's a lot of people that may be in your personal network that are either interested in helping you or interested in having a say. And so sometimes right up front, it's helpful for you to feel everything out and get a team that you really feel comfortable with. And that is not only from their professional credibility, also it's important to feel like they are a professional that you can relate to and will be able to work with. And we'll want to talk to them on the phone and things like that. So evaluate your team as you're getting started. Also, keep in mind that oftentimes family inheritance, if parents pass away and funds are going to adult children, there are family dynamics between you. Perhaps you're the executor of an estate, or you're receiving something, but someone else you're related to is an executor. So navigating through those dynamics, it may be helpful to have that professional team on hand. Sometimes that can be very clean, and sometimes it can be messy to deal with the interpersonal dynamics of the others who are inheriting. So make sure you're aware of that and try to minimize controversy as you're going through the process, although it's not always avoidable. If you've ever been the executor of an estate or received funds from someone, then you know that it can be complicated, that the list can be long. There's a lot of paperwork involved. And so we always think of kind of a triage, and we call it a now, soon, and later list that may be helpful if you're receiving a complicated kind of list of accounts. So there's a lot of paperwork that's necessary to just get the names of accounts changed over. You may need to be sorting through legal documents or going to court. And so we always recommend, this is a process that does not always happen overnight. So take a dose of patience and add in the handy list of triage where you put in, here's what we need to do right away. You know, maybe it's obtaining a death certificate or notifying a financial institution that someone has passed away. And then over time, you may be able to tackle things if it is a long list or extremely complicated. So if you find yourself in that circumstance, certainly use a triage list to help you out. For some people, and not everyone, you may also be thinking about the possibilities if receiving funds would really change your life, then that can really send your mind racing. And you may be thinking of all the things that you will do with the money. And I say for some people, because not everyone feels that way. Some people just don't want to even touch money that they're receiving in inheritance they feel kind of stuck, or just like they would never change what, the important person to them who originally established or gathered the funds would have done. But for those of you who just start to think, oh, maybe we should move, or maybe we would change this or that, it's okay to keep a dream list, but also wait for a time where you will be able to see, what's realistic. And I think that goes back to that group of professionals. So working with financial planners like us, working with other people who may be able to help you can be really important. And you may feel like you have all the money in the world when you receive a windfall, but that may or may not be the case. And so don't get over your skis and kind of spend it all before you have it, or spend it all before you know if it's realistic. So keep that dream list, and also know that it's theoretical until you know what exactly is possible, until you crunch the numbers, and someone like us could help you work through that. So what are some of the potential uses of a financial inheritance? The first thing I would ask, and this goes back to actually the financial planning process that we generally have, is what are the weaknesses in your financial plan, or where are some opportunities or priorities that you have? So first, it's always important to have emergency reserves. And if you are typically operating with a very thin margin of cash on hand, we always recommend considering, kind of boosting up your emergency reserves. You may want to pay off debt that has been established. I know some people will pay off a mortgage. Perhaps you could boost your retirement savings, invest. So there are a variety, so many possibilities. And I always think about that patience. So you may want to take your time when you look at what you might want to do. There is, a very emotional time period, right? When there's a significant loss in a family. And so, giving yourself months or perhaps even a couple years to really make a game plan might be appropriate. You still have to be doing some paperwork, but that's okay to have some patience and take some deep breaths before you decide. Other people sometimes want to honor a legacy, and that might be a legacy in terms of gifting to the next generation. They may want to do something special that was meaningful to the person who left the money to them. So I always love to fit in things that are special to and feel meaningful and appropriate when there is an opportunity to do so. But I also like to mention that don't confuse the gift of money with a legacy. So this speaks back to the people that just do not feel comfortable in doing anything. They never want to touch the money. Grandma invested in ExxonMobil 50 years ago and will just always own it. and, get into, try to separate yourself from, whatever the particular holding is from the meaning of the gift so that you can, integrate it into a more modern, and appropriate strategy that's a good fit for you. So I've talked a lot. I want to open up or hand off kind of the baton to Melissa Fradenburg to talk a little bit more about what happened when you inherit physical assets as well as resources.
Thanks so much, Melissa. Yeah, so when you inherit physical assets, such as a home, it could be a vacation home or a car or a collection, it's really important to determine the costs. And when I say costs, I'm not talking about the value, although that is important to also figure out the value of those assets. But for example, a carrying cost. So if you were to inherit a home, not just what is it worth, but do you have the money to maintain it, to take care of it as far as if there were a roof repair or any of those type things to happen, as well as carrying cost on insuring it, and of course taxes if it is a property. So there's lots of other things to consider. Both, do you want to own that physical asset, and then can you afford to maintain it? Next, after you've determined whether or not you want to keep it, it's important to stay organized. So I know if you have inherited a house that has a lot of items in it, furniture, collections, I know my parents have a lot of stuff. So if I were to inherit that from them, I would need some help getting organized, right? So do hire professionals. There are people out there that can help you both organize, sell, as well as determine the value of those physical assets once you've decided if you would like to keep them. And then, as Melissa mentioned, it's important to consider how the inheritance fits into your financial plan. And that would be the same thing with these physical assets. Again, with the carrying costs associated with them, do you have money on hand for those expenses to maintain the property or the items? And then the value of them to keep that, again, within your financial plan of things that you own in assets. Now, Melissa did mention some additional resources. I just wanted to let you know what we do have available. We would like to keep this presentation evergreen, so things are constantly changing. What we can offer you is we have checklists specific to different considerations. So what issues should you consider if it's a parent who passes away? What issues should you consider if it's your spouse? And then generally issues you should consider when closing out an estate. So we have checklists for all three of these. And if you would like to access them and have us email them to you, please do email melissa@pearlplan.com and we will send those to you. In addition to those resources, we do have a podcast on the topic of inheritance and specifically mistakes that people make with inheritance. So you may access all of our podcasts, including this one, on our website at www.pearlplan.com. And in addition, on our website, we have a button to sign up for our newsletter. So if you would like to find out about future webinars, as well as access some resources that are on our website, please do visit and sign up today. And as far as getting a hold of us, if you are watching this webinar and you find yourself in the situation of either you will be receiving an inheritance or you have and you're not quite sure what to do, we do offer free consultations. We would love the opportunity to meet with you. I am in the Grosse Pointe office, and you may contact me via email or phone. And Melissa and Alexa Kane Melissa Joy and Alexa Kane, a lot of Melissas here, are in the Dexter office. And again, email is melissa@pearlplan.com. We would love to both share our resources with you as well as talk about your individual situation. So, Melissa, any?
No, I just think that it is an extraordinary gift to have the legacy of an inheritance, and you have the opportunity to truly honor your family member. And not everything is perfect and not everything happens all at once, but there are some tremendous resources for you to tackle an inheritance in a way that will feel like something that you're proud of. So take that opportunity to do the work. And if you need some help, then use trusted professionals to get there. Thanks so much.